Hi guys, welcome back. So a quick reaction to the Springboks team that is going into its final phase of World Cup preparation against Wales and then in London against the All Blacks. I think they're looking pretty decent team-wise. They've probably had the rough end of it injury-wise, but is this the turning of the tide as we see some returning players, which we'll talk about in a minute? And we do know that Pollard is very near fitness. We know that Am might get there as well, but certainly Pollard is close. They're playing a bit of a calculated risk in not naming Pollard and Am, certainly Pollard in the 33-man squad, meaning that if there's no injuries, he can't get involved. However, if there are any injuries, even if it's, dare I say, in a back row forward or a second row, I think Pollard's in. Any back and I think he's in. Front row, I don't think they can afford to lose any of those, so they would replace like for like there, but I think he is the first guy they would pull in. And I think the odds say, you look at the stats, Rassie Erasmus would have looked at the stats and he would have worked out you're probably going to get at least 1, 2, maybe even 3 injury replacements in a World Cup. So he's kind of banking on this happening. I think it will probably pay off actually. We will see. It's going to be a really interesting watch. So if they get him back, then they've got a few guys back here and it's looking pretty decent. Now, they've changed a lot since Argentina, but it's still incredibly strong. Let's get into the team. Front row, Kitsoff, Marks, Malherbe. Unbelievable front row, of course. Replacements, we see the return of the Nche, a brilliant player, brilliant loose head. That's fantastic. I mean, he'd been named in the squad anyway, so they're expecting him to be fit. But for him to get maybe 1 or 2 games in before the World Cup is fantastic. So it's Nche and Koch, the prop replacements, Mbanambi off the bench as the hooker replacement. Fantastic 1-2 punch, of course, in the front row, as always. Second row. Then it is the Munster men. The Munster men, the South Africans of R.G. Snyman and Jean Klein. Now, it's a fantastic second row, huge second row. They're resting the likes of Etzebeth, but even if this second row started in the World Cup, it would be better than most in the World Cup. Just fantastic, huge size here. On the bench, if they need second row cover, they've got Mostert. He might come on in the back row, but I've got loads on the bench, 6-2 split, of course. Van Staden would come on the flanks, probably at open side, Mostert blind side maybe, Vermeulen, the number 8 replacement. Now, let's get into the back row. Siya Kolisi is back. The captain returns. Amazing recovery, really, after a nasty knee injury. How does he look? All eyes are going to be on him for sure. Can he play 2 games in a row? I don't know. I mean, ideally for fitness, he'd play both these warm-up games, but when you're coming back from a knee injury, you're going to get maybe a bit of inflammation after a game, so they might play him for just this game and then save him maybe for the opener of the World Cup. If indeed he starts in the opener of the World Cup, maybe they'll bring him back a bit more gradually. Keep an eye on him. Pieter-Steph du Toit, definitely the first choice blindside. Jasper Wiese, he gets a chance to impress again. I was saying that I think Vermeulen is the first choice number 8. Do you disagree? Maybe if Wiese has a stormer, maybe he can come back in as first choice. Who do you think is first choice? It'd be interesting. I mean, who do you think's first choice open side? Are they going to go for Kolisi, even though he hasn't played a lot? It's going to be a really interesting one in the back row for South Africa. Halfbacks, we see the return of Jaden Hendrikse. He's been out for a little bit for different reasons, personal reasons last time, so great to have him back. He has been the number 2, I believe, for South Africa for a while now, so let's see how he goes, because there's a lot of competition in scrum half, 4 scrum halves there, although they can cover other positions. Indeed, we've got Grant Williams who can cover wing. Let's see if he does do that. I imagine he'd come on to scrum half though. And Libbok again going at 10 on the bench if they need to replace Libbok. I don't think they would. Willemse comes on. Willemse obviously made for that number 23 role in the 6-2 split, covering 10 centres and the back 3. So really useful, versatile player, of course. The centres, they know Am isn't around. Maybe he won't come back. Creel is the next number 13 to replace Am. He's had a decent run so far. Can he get another good game in? If he does, I think he's going to be their starting 13. De Lande again going at 12. So it looks like they're getting that centre partnership up to speed as their first choice. We don't see, an inside centre on the bench. So looks like De Lande is going to get the whole game. In the back 3, Leroux, their starting 15 plays. Moody carries on from the Argentina game and Colby on the other wing. Could be a starting back 3. I'm not so sure. I think Arenzo or Mapimpi more likely to start than Moody, but still very, very good. Super strong team there. Is it going to be too good for Wales? You would think yes. Wales have had a couple of good hit-outs against England to get the cobwebs out, but this is a huge step up. We know England aren't particularly decent. Wales should have beaten England when they were down so many players. They were kicking themselves, could have got 2 wins against England, but they're going to have to play so much better against the South Africans. So you would say South Africa should win, but of course, anything can happen in rugby. That's the beauty of it. Let me know what you think of this South African team. They've got one more game against the All Blacks. I think they're going to be mixing it up, to be honest, and we'll see what their first choice team is come the first game of that World Cup. Anyway, guys, all the comments below, and I'll catch you next time.